This is Ian Punnett. To see some more of it, I will look forward to, right?
And start Nick Raw from the Ghosted Pandemic hit. I don't know if you heard about it.
No, I go back to something Greetings, Mr. and Mrs. Middle America and all the ships at sea. This is Coast to Coast AM. My name is Ian Punnett. Coming up this hour, our old friend Dave Schrader returns. I talk to Dave regularly. Somehow, in the months between when we last spoke and tonight, he shot an entire new TV show. And it sounds fascinating, and he'll tell you about that next on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett. You know, I turn around for 2 minutes, and you shoot an entire new TV series, Dave Schrader. How did that happen? It happens
in between those moments. We pay attention. You know that, Ian.
It wasn't that long ago that we were talking. I had no idea you were shooting this. This is so funny. You've been involved in teams of investigations many times, and we've had you on recently with all your projects, and it's cool. This one's really intriguing, and I wish I'd had a chance to see some more of it. I will look forward to catching it on the Travel Channel coming up. But you were involved in an investigation on the ghosts of Devil's Perch in Butte, Montana. That sounds like disparate things coming together for the first time.
Well, what's really kind of nice, this is actually a bit of a returning series. It's kind of an anthology. The first 2 seasons were a show called Ghosts of Shepherdstown.
Right.
And starred Nick Raw from the Ghost Adventures and Elizabeth Saint, and they were dealing with the spirits in a town called Shepherdstown. The mayor and police chief had actually reached out and got Nick involved. Season 3 was Ghosts of Morgan City, and then that was in Morgan City, Louisiana, with Ben Hansen, Sarah Lemos, Katie Stafford, Jeremy Leonard, and they were out there dealing with very similar problems out in Louisiana. And then this pandemic hit. I don't know if you heard about it, if you guys talked about it on the show, but that hit, shut things down for a little bit. And then they decided to go back because there are quite a few towns around the United States dealing with kind of a supernatural uptick. And we were called into Butte, Montana. So Cindy Kaza, the medium, who I worked with on Holzer Files for 23 episodes.
I recognized her immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, she joins me, and we go out there and we connect with Katie Stafford. They call him the mad scientist of the paranormal because he builds really amazing contraptions and engineers these pieces of equipment to try to help us bridge the gap. So not only is Cindy picking up on things psychically, but we're able to help kind of corroborate that with some of the equipment that he's created, and we get these voices and visages and imagery that we're able to actually collect in the moment while we're doing these live investigations.
The show, again, is called Ghosts of Devil's Perch. Now, I go back to something you and I have talked about before. So tell me how this is different or better, that somehow, and I think it makes for great media, really good TV, but how is it that this guy has invented these devices that are able to capture something that other people can't find, don't experience, even though they're in the same room, and it happens just in time for TV cameras to show up? What does he come up with that's different, that we can look at this and go, okay, this is the real deal?
Well, and that's a great question, because when you're dealing with the paranormal, obviously you've already got enough of the skeptical side looking at you, wanting to understand and break down the things that you're doing.
Right.
Katie is an Iraqi and Afghani war vet, and he's got a knack for electronics and building and engineering. So he does what many others in the field have done in the past. They hear the theories, the ideas, the concepts of what is happening in a haunting, where EVP, electronic voice phenomena, or visual spectrums for spirits might lie, and then he tries to create equipment around it that, depending on the type of activity that's taking place in the location, be it poltergeist activity, residual hauntings, live intelligent hauntings, he just kind of tries to, find something that might be able to tap into that element of what we're there for. And of course, not everything works all the time, and we don't get evidence on maybe one piece of equipment, but the tried and true recorder picks up some amazing voice phenomenon. We're able to almost carry on a one-on-one conversation with the spirit realm. And this season was exciting for me because coming off of 2 seasons of the Holzer Files, where we, Cindy Kays and myself and Shane Pittman were kind of walking in the long shadow of Dr. Hans Holzer, one of America's premier ghost hunters. Guy wrote over 145 books on just about every element of the paranormal, from witches to psychic phenomena to ghosts and, haunted and possessed possessions. And we got to do this in a really great historic route. And that's what drew me in for the new series, is I really love the concept that we're going to go to Butte, Montana, which is steeped in history. We get to hear what's going on. And then you've got all of this perfect template already there, Ian. You've got high quartz and limestone and copper and precious minerals, underground water springs. So there's a lot there. And then bringing somebody like K.D. Stafford in, who's then able to kind of try to trick out some of these areas to try some new experiments, to see if we can facilitate something. I'm all for it. I love the concept of trying and pushing boundaries, seeing where we can take the next step into our, discovery of what comes next.
Okay, so with you 100%, and the Holzer Files, I thought was that was what was really unique about that was you had kind of a horizon line against what you were how you were going to measure your success. You were doing that kind of a reinvestigation. I think that kind of stuff works beautifully. So, what was it? What were the stories in Butte, Montana, that the sheriff and the mayor felt were worthy of reaching out to a team like yours to investigate? What got them the nickname of the Devil's Porch in the first place, Dave?
Okay, well, I apologize, but I have to correct you. It's the Ghosts of Devil's Perch.
Perch! I said porch. You know why? It's because I played CCR. I played looking out my back door, so porch got in my head. Perch, of course. I meant to say that. I just have this image of the devil standing on his porch, shaking his fist at me and telling me to get off his lawn. That's about right.
It comes from, it's kind of an old throwaway line about the fact that they were mining so much in the town of Butte that they dug so deep that the devil was sitting on the perch now looking down at them as they were doing their work.
Yeah.
It was also a town. It was a crazy Wild West kind of town to live in. So the devil had a good view of everything that was unfolding in that town.
Yeah.
What was going on that was driving them to seek help? Well, they were having police being called to houses because there was an intruder seen in the house.
Really?
Go through it. Doors and windows are closed and locked from the inside. They'd go through the entire place and find nothing, only to get a call back an hour later that somebody else in the family had seen another figure moving through the house.
Wow.
That's an example. I mean, even in places like the town hall, the center of their government, people have had weird experiences and have reported it. So, when you've got a town that's built on the blood, sweat, and tears of so many souls, and many of those souls were forgotten at the time. Really, the only people that are remembered are the Copper Kings, the people that rose to prominence. Right. So I think a lot of these spirits just want to be heard, and that's what I love about doing a show like this. Is we did it with Holzer Files. Was we have a true love for the history, getting the history right, and understanding what was going on in these places at this time, and then trying to give voice to the spirits that were lost. And I think it's a great way to package history. I almost wish that schools would teach history this way. I would have learned so much more growing up, having these fascinating stories of ghosts tied to them. And that's just been a big part of what we do in this, and that they saw the way that we show love and respect for the history of the town. We understand the importance for the people that live there, and they're right now in the middle of a giant restoration. They're really sprucing the place up. And you've heard the theories all along. When you start to, move things and remodel, sometimes it stirs up energy.
Right.
And I think that, right now they're sinking shovels and backhoes into new things every day, digging stuff up, moving stuff around, refurbishing. And I think, the spirit of Old Town Butte doesn't want to be buried and forgotten.
My wife and I have renovated a few homes, and there's a rule on that if you take very seriously when you have to crack a wall, not because you're not, my first thought is not, I'm going to let the ghosts out, but it's because you crack that wall, you find out you got lead pipes, you've got asbestos in there, you've got some things are better left alone a little bit. So, but then why wouldn't somebody just say, Okay, really cool. New Western town investigated. It makes for great television. The new series, Ghosts of Devil's Perch. Can't wait to watch it. But really, this is a tourism play, and they're just trying to create new interest in a forgotten town. Why would they be wrong? Why would somebody be wrong in thinking that?
I can't say that they necessarily would. I mean, the fact is that there's lifeblood coming into this, but then that's a double-edged sword when you're gambling on building a new community and you're gambling on bringing people in, but then you're exposing this kind of underbelly of things that have gone on there and things that are continuing to go on there and the spiritual element that's everywhere. And, Ian, it's fascinating because I am a skeptical believer, and I know people have a hard time
I get it.
Terms with that. But I've seen things. It doesn't mean I believe everything and not everything I've seen. And there are times that after standing back and taking a bigger look at the picture, it falls into place and I understand what the experience really was or meant. And during one of the episodes, I had a medical issue that put me in the hospital.
No, why didn't you call your buddy? What happened?
Yeah, well, because we were under tight wraps at the time. So I went in. And what's funny is they got wind that, I was one of the ghost guys in town, and all of a sudden here you've got doctors and nurses coming in, and they're like, I got to tell you about this. And they're telling me ghost stories about places they grew up, places they visit, and in their own hospital. Right.
Yeah, hospitals are really, there's one of those, it's even a vibe in a thriving hospital. So it's you don't have to go find some abandoned hospital in the middle of nowhere with creepy exposed brick and moss and whatever. Right. Even just being in certain corridors in hospitals, you do wonder if you could see who is sitting on those gurneys still up against the wall, what they would be having to say. And I often think that when I walk down certain hallways in hospitals, it's like, what stories are lingering here to be told?
Right, and what spirits are staying there to, try to reach out. And, we're finding out more and more things all the time. And, you brought up earlier, well, this is theorized. Why can't we prove it? We can't do this. We can't do that. We're still in the infancy, I think, of truly even understanding what death is. And we're getting to a point where I think science is starting to take a bigger understanding of this. Yeah. And I don't want to speak out of line, but there are a few people I know in the paranormal field that are engineers that have built specific pieces of equipment that have had three-letter government agencies contact them after the fact and buy some of their equipment. They won't tell them what for. They won't tell them what they're doing with it, but they've asked for the software. They've asked for the hardware. And these guys that I know that are doing this have politely turned it over because you don't want to make the three-letter agencies mad.
But did they have to turn it over without a check? They just handed it off?
No, they were paid as though they were buying the equipment. They were very good about it. Diligent, had the check cut to them, but they weren't coming in and saying, give us all this. They wanted to understand what was going on. And
so so again, we're talking with our old friend Dave Schrader. The new series is Ghosts of Devil's Perch. So how many episodes in this series?
There are 8 episodes that begin airing on August 21st. They run through the middle of what Travel Channel and Discovery Plus call Ghosttober. So we'll be running through there. And they are this is interesting because they're airing it on Travel Channel and dropping it on the Discovery Plus app at the same time. For your listeners that are overseas in the UK, it begins airing on August 27th. And in Canada, I think it's August 30th, and Australia in October sometime. So they're making this available worldwide pretty quickly. So I'm really happy that they're going to be able to show this and share this. And I'm proud of the team that I was a part of and the families that we were able to help. And the businesses, and the fact that they looked at us and respected what we did and the answers we gave them, or tried to give them during the filming of this series.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. If I had my life to live over again, I would be the costume designer for these investigations. I've driven around Montana a little bit. I love Montana, and there's a kind of desolation to Montana that I think Much like maybe early American pioneers, the atmosphere of the towns, that foreboding sky when storms come in, the lack you can drive for